Welcome to Proof of PR, your passport to the world of public relations for teams building on chain. I'm your host, Kelley Weaver, CEO of Melrose PR, a leading provider of crypto communications and PR strategy, and founder of BITWIRE, the modern newswire reimagined for today's comms professionals. Get ready for an inside look into the future of finance, technology, and entrepreneurship from those driving innovation in our space. Join us as we learn how they generate headlines, cut through the noise, and grow their brand awareness through media placements, press mentions, and thought leadership. These are the stories behind their success. This is Proof of PR.
Today's guest is someone who has spent over a decade proving that great PR isn't just about what you say, it's about knowing exactly who needs to hear it and how. Kristyna Mazankova, did I say that right? How do I pronounce it?
Mazankova.
Is a PR and comms guru who has operated every level of this industry, from managing campaigns for global giants like Vodafone and Dell to leading comms for BTC Inc., the largest media platform in the Bitcoin space. She's been in the room for some of the biggest moments in Bitcoin history and helped bring Bitcoin education into universities. Kristyna is the kind of PR pro who understands that the best stories don't just get told. They get placed, timed, and crafted with purpose. So I'm really excited for this one because Kristyna and I go way back. Welcome to Proof of PR.
Thank you so much. I'm really excited about this conversation. We are a long time overdue with it, so I'm really looking forward to our discussion.
Same here. And I always like to start with, what was your journey into Bitcoin PR? How did you end up here? You came from the world of Vodafone, Dell, big corporate comms. What was the moment that you realized that Bitcoin was where you wanted to plant your flag?
It's really interesting because I haven't purposefully looked for work in Bitcoin. I was working for several, Czech-based startups, tech startups, and big companies and PR agencies, and focusing on tech. And in 2019, I got hired by Satoshi Labs, which is the producer and basically inventor of hardware wallets. Their flagship product is Trezor. And so for me, it was, okay, let's see what Bitcoin is. And I approached Bitcoin at the beginning from like a tech point of view, and had to do a lot of education and educating myself on finance and more like traditional finance side. And like anybody who gets into Bitcoin, they start to realize they don't know what money is and how it actually works, or it doesn't work. So it was a whole new world for me, but it was exciting, and I was basically orange pilled by the biggest OGs in the world. So that's exciting, and it was exciting for me. I would say it also like kind of clicked on very personal levels, because as a student I studied partially economics, partially international relations and journalism, um, and I had very open-minded teachers in high school that were teaching Austrian economics for me. And I got, during a summer, I got in the Libertarian Institute in Prague, and did a summer school with them. So the economics part was already like the work was done for me. And then I started to work in tech because basically I wanted to be surrounded by this environment. I really enjoyed, trying to see how things work and how to explain them in a plain, easy language so people understand. And that's where it came together in Bitcoin for me. So yeah, it kind of meant to be.
Sounds like all the dots connected,
Yeah.
because you have economic understanding background too. You've watched the Bitcoin narrative evolve tremendously, from its use by criminals to Trump speaking at the conference. How much of that shift do you attribute to intentional PR work versus just time sort of doing its thing with Bitcoin narrative?
Well, I would start the answer with, we are not over the, Bitcoin is for criminals and all of the other popular nonsensical information in traditional media, like we are destroying the planet. It's a Ponzi scheme. It's a religion. One of my favorite. So I would say it's a constant work of explaining what it does, what it's capable of doing, what problems it's solving. I always look at it like it has to click for the individual that is getting into Bitcoin. It cannot be something that is forced onto people. So the more education, the more information, the more serious studies we have in Bitcoin is going to help tremendously to explain to people how it's actually helping the world and what problems it's solving, and move naturally from the headlines. Bad news sell always better, so from the bad headlines to hopefully good ones.
Totally agreed. And I remember we talked about that on stage last year together. And maybe we could link to that segment because that was a fun conversation with TJ Miller and Gareth Jenkinson. But yes, I agree. The narrative has evolved so much. Walk us through the press coordination playbook for a massive event like the Bitcoin conference. I know we've worked on this before, and you're always running around like a chicken with your head cut off.
I hope I don't give that impression.
You're doing an amazing job. Basically, superhuman effort for the listeners. What she does, she coordinates hundreds, maybe even thousands of reporters on the ground. But walk us through the first planning meeting of the conference, and what the goals are to the moment that the doors open. What does that actually look like, and how many how many reporters are you wrangling at the peak?
Obviously, the conference and the PR of the conference starts way before people are noticing it. It needs to kind of build up for the groundwork being able to work for the conference. And I would say the flagship event, I've been doing my fourth this year. And so the first one I did in Miami, then we moved to Nashville, then last year it was Las Vegas, and then this year we're coming back to Las Vegas in April, end of April. So all of this is continuous work like any other PR work. So it's not like I start 4 months before the event and I start building it from the beginning. It's already has its reputation. It has its name in the business. So the groundwork is basically the most busiest time for me, and I would say leading up to the conference, what I'm focusing on is obviously getting the conference communicated in other media. Then having media partners, making sure accreditations work smoothly, helping sponsors and partners of the event to get coverage, speakers of the conference to get announced, to get coverage during the event, and trying to really just like get everything that can be done in advance done, because on the ground it's a madness. Last year we had over 1,400 journalists and influencers, podcasters, and
So 1,400, just so I remember that correctly.
yeah, 1,400. There is not much of space for like 101 approach to either the reporters or the people looking for coverage. So trying to do as much as I can in advance, automatize whatever I can, so I'm not stuck with 300 emails. But I last year I had a colleague helping me, but she was not on site. She was remote, And she was telling me like, so what can I help you with? And I'm like, well, I always struggle to answer anything over my email. So I gave her access to my email, so she can answer the, typical questions. Where do I find this? How can I get this? And so on. And like after 30 minutes of the day one of the conference, she was like texting me like, oh my God, like your inbox exploded. And I'm like, I know. I know. There was like within the first 2 hours, there was like 300 emails that needed to be responded. So yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot.
Let's go back in time to 2024. And we were actually working together on the PR for the conference that year. And it was, there was this, is Trump going to come? Is he not? And then once it finally was announced that he was, just walk us through what that was like from a PR standpoint, the opportunities, challenges that presented, and then maybe some of the impact of that for years to come of the press work that you did at that conference.
That was really interesting, pivotal time for me. And I think I can speak for some of my colleagues too. It was complete change of everything that we've been doing and experiencing before. Not just because it was, like, I don't know if people realize, but like when we confirmed him as a speaker, like 2 weeks later, he got shot in his ear, and then everything like completely changed. From production point of view, obviously you need to understand like there is a security, there is a double security, there is a secret service, there is a, all the sweeps, everything changes, the timing, the queues, the registrations, the influx of people wanting to come suddenly to the Bitcoin conference and understand what's his point of view on Bitcoin and generally in cryptocurrencies. So that was really, I'm really proud of the very lean team that we have that was capable to pull that off in a very, very short time. It was like 1 month ahead of the event that was happening. And we all had to like improvise. And one thing that I really appreciated in the whole BTC Inc. team is there's individuals that are great professionals in what they do, and they were just capable of like stepping up into different roles and helping people around and really owning their profession without um without like any nervous breakdowns. And if there were any nervous breakdowns, I didn't have time to see them. But it was amazing. So it was like internally it was really bonding for the team, or bonding, sorry, it was really bonding for the team. And also I had to learn quickly a lots of things that I didn't know before. Like the political PR jargon is completely different to what I'm used to from, tech startups or corporations. There were requirements for how the stage should be set up, how far things that I didn't know word exist for, like bullnose should be, and how do you get, presidential campaign camera in, and how are the rules for media, how they're pulling the signal from pool cameras and so on. So that was a huge and really interesting work. And I really think that it was a moment where I realized, okay, like this is not a one person job. Like there are surely more people working in this.
I remember talking to the Zappo team that was a major sponsor that year, and they ran their ad, and then also on the backdrop of the stage, they had their logo, and they said the ROI from the media impressions from those clips of Trump speaking about Bitcoin at the Bitcoin conference in Nashville was so astronomically massive because the amount of media attention that you got for many years to come was just insane. Those clips ran. Did you learn anything from that? From, all of a sudden, I think the conference became on the world stage.
Well, first of all, we completely broke our measuring system. So media monitoring, it was like done. Like it was stuck for 48 hours. Like nothing was running because after all, we were, after 1 week after the conference, we were capable of gathering some number. And if I remember it correctly, we have about 35,000 clippings during that week. It was broadcasted, but by most of the mainstream broadcasters in the US, but also everywhere in the world. And so one thing was like, there is no way to prepare for something like that. You just need to go with the flow and hope for the best. and um, and yes, I think we get also lots of critics because people say, Bitcoin is a political, it's not something that politicians should use in their campaigns. And I get it. I get it. I like a hardcore Bitcoiner. I get it. We are building it from the bottom up, and we want the hyper Bitcoinization to be among all the people. On the other hand, this was the best PR for Bitcoin that was out there, and it was overly positive, with a long-term impact where President Trump did make promises during the event, and he did deliver on many of those promises, which is significant for the whole Bitcoin community in the US. And I think I would say it does have a lasting impact on worldwide politics towards Bitcoin. So I get the point of view where you would rather Bitcoin be like a secret weapon for, cyberpunks. But I think also the education and the PR that you are doing daily, it just got accelerated a lot.
Great. I think the net impact was so positive, and you did a great job of rolling with it and making the best of an incredibly just exciting moment, really. So kudos. Bitcoin, as we know, is just incredibly volatile in nature, and not just the price, but the news cycle. One moment people love Bitcoin, one moment, it's dead again. Is there a moment where something broke and you had to pivot your entire comm strategy in real time? And what did you learn from that?
Bitcoin is volatile, and so is the narrative. Sometimes it's difficult to navigate because obviously you as a PR person, you're working on your strategy, you set it up for like 6 months, and then the news cycle is gone, right? It's happening right now. Like there is no news cycle outside of the war in Iran and the Middle East. So how do you pivot in times like that? How do you get the attention back towards your product, your Bitcoin solution? It's really challenging. And I would say a very important thing that I learned over the time, not just from this today's situation, is, lots of companies in bear market are cutting budgets. And the budgets that they feel like is the easiest cut that you don't feel as a company immediately is a PR and marketing. So you cut the marketing spend, you don't go to events, you don't go, you don't do any like branding, because, it's difficult to measure. So you don't have the right KPIs for the stakeholders. Uh, and then, so you go quiet during the bear market and you kind of disappear in the eyes of the media. And so once that happens, it's really difficult to build it back. So I would say the most important thing is during the non-existent news cycle or like not favorable news cycle, don't stay quiet. Be out there and provide information that the journalists don't even know they should be looking for. I'm a huge fan of data journalism. So like the data that you can gather, that you have, the insight in the market that you can provide, are going to be the way. Probably like a product communications in that news cycle is not a good idea. But if you have interesting data, if you have interesting insight, and if you can pivot and comment on the news cycle that is elsewhere and not on Bitcoin, the better. So if you have, let's say, mining facility in Middle East, like you can definitely plug it to the news cycle of Middle East crisis.
I think that's such good advice. Honestly, sometimes when things are quieter, there's less noise to cut through from a PR standpoint. So it's a better time to be making those types of bringing that type of data to reporters because you have less competition, less shiny objects.
Yeah, I had an interesting conversation with one of my clients, and he was saying, I did a interview with a Cointelegraph journalist, right? And it got syndicated and it got so much visibility, and it was like nothing very specific. It was a friendly chit chat with a friendly journalist. We enjoyed it. It got published and it got syndicated in so many outlets. Like, how does that work? Like, how do I know that if I'm going to do an interview, that it's gonna have so much impact? And the part is like, if you are not a strategist in PR, you will probably not know that you have that possibility. And I think these possibilities specifically are getting during these times. Like, it's quiet, there is no noise, there is nothing to report on, nothing is happening. The chart is flat, right, for several months. So you're like, well, I must as well do friendly chit chat, and then everybody is reporting on that because at least it's positive and it's fun to watch. So
Shifting gears a little bit into education, I know you recently helped pioneer the first Bitcoin major. Am I correct in how I said that? The first Bitcoin major at a major university. I love this. What was the hardest part about convincing the academic world that Bitcoin deserves a seat at the table? And did you have to translate Bitcoin into a totally different language to get buy-in from the administrators to get this pushed through?
well, I would love to say that I am a great at pitching the academic world, and that it's thanks to me that the university degree is, running from May. But the truth is, I was lucky, and I was teaching in the Spanish version of the master degree in Bitcoin. I was teaching communications, which is, something that I'm really proud of. um and and I was like, well, there must be like ton of these degrees worldwide, right? And so I did a little research, and there really wasn't any like online fully independent master degree in English. There's lots of private courses, private lessons. Usually they're either too generic, focusing on why Bitcoin, or they're too technical, focusing on how to self-custody, or they're trading, on universities in general. What we could see is degrees on the best case scenario, cryptocurrencies, but mostly it's like blockchain, crypto, Web3, the best buzzwords bundled together and making it a degree in a university. And I didn't like that approach. So when I talked to the rector of the university, they're well-known Austrian economists, so they get it. They understand Bitcoin, and Gabriel, he published an article about Bitcoin back in 2013, so that's not a new to them. And they have amazing educational institution, which is a private university with full accreditation in Spain. And their approach to higher education is not the traditional academic way. So academia in everywhere in the world works a little bit like a corporation. So you need to climb the ladder. So you need to be bachelor degree, then you need to have your master's, then you have to go to your PhD, and then whatever is after. Here they're focusing on actually getting professionals, from different subjects, and teaching the students and opening the things that are happening right now on the market, not what has been published in books for decades ago.
Most newswire platforms were built for a different era of PR. Mass distribution, bloated pricing, coverage that looks impressive but rarely delivers real visibility. BITWIRE was built to change that. We give modern PR teams direct access to curated Tier 1 publishers that actually reach your audience, from leading crypto and business outlets to global financial media. Instead of blasting your news everywhere, BITWIRE focuses on quality distribution that builds credibility, authority, and search visibility through real placements and permanent links. Every distribution includes guaranteed publication, so you know exactly where your story will appear with no uncertainty and no wasted spend. Our platform lets you create and distribute a press release in minutes through a clean, intuitive workflow designed by PR professionals who understand what's at stake every time you hit publish. With fast turnaround times, your announcement moves quickly from submission to live coverage, helping you stay ahead of fast-moving markets and news cycles. No confusing subscriptions, no unnecessary spend. Just transparent, a la carte pricing so you can choose exactly where your news appears and scale as you grow. And when you need support, our team delivers unparalleled customer service at every step, from submission through publication, ensuring your release runs smoothly and successfully. Because today, it's not about sending your news everywhere. It's about placing it where it matters. BITWIRE, your news amplified.
I love that unique way of thinking. I think it's the way that the world is going. We need to catch up with the times. Technology is moving so quickly. So it's
Yeah.
fantastic that you able to get that pushed through. And I think they say that luck is preparation meets opportunity. So I think we're lucky, but
Yeah.
I want to talk about, so BTC Inc. owns some of the biggest media properties in Bitcoin. Bitcoin being the original, obviously the Bitcoin conference, which produces a lot of media content, Bitcoin for corporations, the whole content ecosystem. How does that change the PR strategy when you are the media? And does it make it easier? Does it make earned coverage perhaps harder because people assume that you'll just cover it yourself? Or, how does that change the way that you do PR?
So that was the exact question that I was asking my colleague that was doing PR for, TV when I was hired by BTC. And I was like, how do I do PR for a media company? Like, how is it different? And she said, well, it's not, because you're basically focusing on the individual products of the media company. So, Bitcoin conference or brands, Bitcoin for corporations. Um, there is a very, I would say, thin line between, you know, editorial team and me. I obviously they're my colleagues and I know them, but I don't go to pitch them every single thing that I have. And obviously we do breaks, internal stories, and we do cover ourselves. But they would go broke if they would that would be the only thing that they're doing. So they still have to do a lot of editorial work, and for me, it's a product. So if somebody wants to know about the biggest media company in the world and what we are cooking, then that's what I pitch.
PR is inherently a relationship business. And so, how do you think about building real relationships with the reporters in the space? And there's always this tension between pitching them and then being genuinely useful to them. Where do you draw that line?
Yeah, I think one of the things that you need to do is, and this is really like from point of view of a PR agency. I've worked in the PR agencies and helped build teams in PR agencies. Um, you need to know the journalist that you are pitching to, so that the information that you are sending them to, is not completely off topic. we all do that. We all have media lists, and clients want to see the biggest potential numbers. So you do pitch sometimes people that you are not 100% sure that if they are going to be interested, and that's where you're kind of risking that you're getting on blacklisted for that journalist because they're overwhelmed or just overlooked, right? So that it is a relationship business. It's it's like a sales basically, where there's no exchange of money. The currency is the information. And so, like, offering someone failing currency is probably not going to work. So it's the same with an information. If that information is not interesting, it's yesterday news, just don't even try. Like, try to convince your client, your boss, or whoever it is, that you need to take a different angle because there is no one interested in that information. And so the
That was
line,
the best soundbite I've heard in a long time. That we're in sales, but we're not exchanging money. We're exchanging information. That was
yeah,
preach.
yeah, it really is if you think about it, because like
It is.
the journalist needs to want that information. And you need to have an information that is worth, publishing. If you don't have that, you don't have a case, you don't close the deal, and there is no relationship.
Fully agree. Well said. Do you have a good example of the biggest PR mistake that you see founders making, and what's the fix that nobody wants to hear?
I think very often what I see is founders of companies thinking two things. Either PR is just nice to have, and it's something that I don't need because I can sell produce without it, and I don't need to have a PR. But there is actually a study that 80% of companies face crisis communications within each like 5 days, 5 years. So in 5 years, you have an 80% chance as a company you're going to face a big comms crisis, which means your reputation and your brand is probably going to get destroyed. Otherwise, if you don't know how to handle it. So that's one reason. Like, don't underestimate of being really prepared. And now there are lots of founders that are talented communicators, and they can do very well comms on their own. But when you get a certain point, it gets overwhelming. So you also need people that are capable of like filtering for you what's the noise, what's important, what's to do, what's capable, like pull some strategy, change narratives, and not just like answer phone calls from journalists, but also like knowing who is the journalist, have the intel, knowing which one you should be talking to, who you shouldn't be talking to, and so on. So I think founders underestimating the importance of PR is one of the mistakes. And one of the mistakes we already talked about is, first budget cuts go to marketing and PR, just because you cannot quickly measure the results, and you cannot see uh, present them as a, like direct leading to sales, means you're not selling thanks to PR in your eyes. And so I see it as a big missed opportunity, because if you are doing that, most of other founders are in similar situations and they're doing that. So if you double down on your comms, you're probably gonna benefit long term, steal, piece of the media pie for yourself, and actually make meaningful connections that you're gonna benefit in long term. So one is cutting budget when it's not necessary, and the other is probably underestimating the necessity and the power of PR.
We educate our clients all the time on this because people think that it's a faucet that you can turn on and off, PR and communication strategy. And especially when crisis happens, to your point, it's important to have a playbook ready and be prepared. So I fully agree.
Yeah, and plus in Bitcoin, everything is moving so fast. So you turn off PR, and in 2 or 3 months you realize, oh shoot, like I have so much opportunities. I need someone, to help me. But then that person moved on, and a PR agency is not available anymore, or it's more expensive. And then you're just like piling on missed opportunities. So
I was thinking about AI when you were talking about the volume of clipping that we faced at the end of the Trump Bitcoin conference appearance. But AI is changing everything in real time, I feel like, in the way that the ability that, AI can basically write a press release in seconds now. So, can you make the case why are human PR professionals still irreplaceable? And where does AI fall short in what we do?
PR professionals uh, are not about writing press releases. So we are in a relationship business, and that's the most important case. Like, AI doesn't have relationships with media. AI is amazing tool that I'm using daily, and opened a lot of doors for me, because it can, analyze data easily. It can, you know, do lots of things automatically for you. You don't need to now, try to get a hire a programmer to kind of change the system, how it works, so it works the best for your case. You can do it on your own. Like, vibe coding is an amazing thing. Um, but when we are talking about press releases, of course it can write press releases. I write press releases with AI, but how do you know if the press release is actually good? Because you have the previous experiences, with writing press releases and with working different clients. So I think uh, the PR the professional is always going to be needed for the strategic work, for the, let's say, a check of the AI slop and changing it to something that is meaningful. Where I am a little bit worried is what I see is lots of companies are replacing junior people, and that's not just in PR, but law firms, accountants. They're replacing junior people with AI. But like, if you were working for a law firm, you need to go through certain, positions to be able to be a, really well experienced strategic worker. Now, if that is replaced by AI, where is going to be, law firms in 10 and 20 years, where they will not have somebody who has the experience, who has written hundreds and hundreds of contracts and is capable of saying, well, this is true, or this should be, changed. Like, where is that gonna be? So I think, like, let's think of, we do use AI for certain things, but we still need to, like, invest in the junior people and teach them, because we will want to have still the experience, and we don't want our profession to die with us.
Fully agreed, and it leads me into my next question really well, which is if someone is just graduating or wants to pivot their career into Bitcoin PR right now in 2026, what is the first thing that they should do, in your opinion, and what should they absolutely not do?
This is a water of my milk. So I really think, if you're pivoting, or whether you're new to, a PR, good start is studying Bitcoin. Because even if you know PR, it's not just another tool or another product. It's a complete change or shift of paradigm in how finances in the world work. And you will need to understand it quite in detail. You will need to make the case for Bitcoin to every single journalist that you're going to talk to. And sometimes, many of these journalists are Bitcoiners, and they will be testing you and, trying to see if you know what you're talking about. So a good idea if you want to work in Bitcoin in any position, but in PR specifically, is to study Bitcoin. What you can do is study it at a university, or you can study it on your own. TJ mentioned in our talk last year, you need 100 hours to study it, and you will understand it. 100 hours is, I would say 3 months intensively learning about something. It's nothing comparing to, other topics. So pay attention, study Bitcoin. And then if you want to, as a PR professional, what you should be ready for is uh, it's a complete different environment. I know because I went through tech, and I went from tech to Bitcoin, and I thought, oh, another tool, instrument, hardware wallet. Okay, it's a pen drive, and like I will learn the features, and it's not really about that much about the tech. It's a lot about other narratives, and so you will really need to be ready, basically communicating a change, and it's different instrument that you'll be using. It's not automatic, like you don't get a spec sheet and send it to journalists for them to test the device, right? Like it doesn't work like that. uh, if I was when I was working with Dell, we would get the new computer, we would have a spec sheet, we would send it for testing, reviews, yada, yada, yada. It worked perfect, work done. Here you have to kind of defend every single thing behind it, like why people need it. You go back to, all the fuzz. It's a different discipline. So be ready for that and build your resilience and patience and um, I would say diplomatic skills.
Great advice. Thank you. Someone is listening and they have a story worth telling, but they're scared to put it out there. What do you say to them?
Well, how do you know story is how do you know story is worth telling? I would say if you go to a party with 100 people and there's few that are, literally like listening to what you're saying and it's like, oh my God, I didn't know about that. That's so interesting. That's a story worth telling. And so you can, beta test it in a party or in, family reunion is not a good idea, but like go to group of people and see whether your story really lands, because that's, I think, something that people very often don't understand. Like, how do I know if anybody will listen? So you can beta test it, and if somebody is interested, then try to think of what that person would read, what that person would be watching on internet, what the circle of that person is, and you can kind of beta test his circle of people that are similar thinking and have similar habits, and then test it there. And then if it lands, then you say, okay, it's definitely like bringing some attention, and you can decide on investment into proper PR campaign and go to, wider media. That's a good approach. If you don't do that, what you are basically looking into is sending out a press release that AI wrote for you. It doesn't land, and then long-term PR doesn't work, and you're convinced that nobody is like interested. Like, do it a good way. Like, if you're gonna go out there, don't burn yourself first and then get disappointed and never want to do PR again. Try to understand what you're doing and beta test it and get an experience. Like, obviously, if you have the budget, if you're a company that has the budget, like, get a PR professional. It's going to make things easier. And if you're not a person with a budget, you're, solo coder, whatever, do the beta testing.
Right. Refine your elevator pitch, practice it on a few people, see what lands and leads to a follow-up question. Such good
Yeah,
advice. It's so
because surprisingly, journalists are also people.
go figure. Okay, my last question is, what is coming up this year at the Bitcoin conference? What should people be paying attention to?
This year's conference is gonna be very, very interesting. We always like the laser focus of a bear market. This is not a financial advice, but I think we can say we are in a bear. And so this conference is gonna be full of people that know that there is no noise and there is a focus, and it's time to make meaningful relationships. It's not a time to cut budgets. It's not a time to skip events. It's a time to strap your boots and hit the ground and really make your case in personal relationships and build them for the time when all of the media wakes up to 150K or whatever the price is going to be, and they're going to start again. Bitcoin hit whatever price now. You already have the relations, and you already are known to a couple of journalists, and you already know what they're interested in. When you try to do that during the bull market, it's just impossible. It's impossible for you because there's so many things happening and you don't know what to juggle. There's customers reaching out, and there's a production overwhelmed and whatever. And the same it is for the journalists. Like all of a sudden, everybody has like stories, everybody has comments, everybody has new features in their products, and they're launching a product on a new market. Be ready for that. And the time to get ready is a bear market. And there's no better place to build meaningful relations with media, but also, biz dev, community than on the event in person.
I'm so excited about this year's conference. I do agree that when there's less noise, you can make more meaningful relationships. And when AI is taking over all of the world, we need human to human relationships more than ever. So, yeah, this conference has just historically been so beautifully produced, and you've done an amazing job. And I'm just so grateful to have you on the show, sharing all this great, context and tips for everybody. So thank you so much, Kristyna, and excited to see you in Las Vegas.
Thank you. I'm really looking forward to see you again.
Thanks for tuning in to Proof of PR. This episode was brought to you by BITWIRE.com, the modern newswire reimagined for today's comms professionals. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe, rate, and review us wherever you listen today. To stay up to date on upcoming guests and news, visit proofofpr.com or follow us on Twitter at proofofpr. Until next time, keep learning, innovating, and hodling.